everyone, it's Ravenhawk6910 reporting once again. So as you can see, we are not out at the layout today. You know why? Because it is unbearably hot. And my 4 fans out there are on overdrive, so I'm giving them a break and coming inside, and we are in my bedroom on my desk for once. In fact, this is the first video I've shot here since 2012, I want to say. So we're going to be stuck here today. Nothing really new has happened out on the layout, so we're just going to be talking about projects, new products, and various other things, including a rather special thing at the end. So let's just jump right in and get started. First of all, this is a Norfolk Southern C39-8. I just picked this up recently from Trainmaster Models. I have been looking for one of these forever, as a lot of you may know. The C39s are by far my favorite locomotives in the fleet. And they were retired years ago, unfortunately, so in terms of when I actually got around to rail fanning, I never got to video one or photograph one. I think there is only one left on NS property, and it's in the deadline in Roanoke right now. It's got NSSX markings on it, so I'm not quite sure what's going to be the fate of that unit. But getting back to this one, I was able to find this one at Trainmasters. This came in from a collection of Southern, NW, and NS equipment, and I was able to pick it up. And as you can see, it is really nice. Custom painted and detailed very nicely. There's the back end. There's snow plows and MU cables and hoses and air hoses back here, and on the front end as well. There's the other side. And there's the front again. So yeah, I am very excited to have one of these in my fleet at last. It's been a long time coming, but yeah. And as a lot of you know, I already have a C32-8 in my fleet, which is in Conrail Ballast Express paint, but is patched for Norfolk Southern. I will likely pair these up, but seeing as the 8461 is from a different era, I may separate these because this one I can use alongside my modern power, if you will, at least up until about 2008. That's when these guys were retired. So yeah, that's one hell of a purchase. The second new item to arrive this month is this Athearn ready-to-run bulkhead flat car, painted for Norfolk Southern. This car I got in a trade, and it's pretty nice. Nice, solid car. It's got metal wheels, so it's got a good amount of weight to it. It rolls pretty good. And other than that, in the C39, those are the only new items to arrive this month. So let's go ahead and move on to projects that I've been working on the workbench. I've moved them inside here for you. So let's get started. First up, in terms of items on the workbench, is -9 8820. Now, I know what you're thinking. You said this item was finished last month. To a point, yes it is. However, I went to the extent and weathered this model a little bit. So, that's the first side. And on the other side here, that's the second side. And the reason I weathered it so heavily is because up until a few years ago, the C40-9s were notorious for being extremely rusty and ratty looking. NS just recently, within the past 2 years, has gotten around to painting these at last into the horsehead scheme. And now they look a lot better, but my representation of the 8820 is the older version, and so I wanted to represent that on the model. So this was not a hard weathering job. I used a combination of paints and ink pads, which is how I got the rust effect on the logo. So it came out pretty good. Now 8820 will go back into service soon. Actually, you did see it in my Coltrane video that I just posted, and it was weathered then, but now it's completely finished, aside for some detail parts which will be added later on down the road. Speaking of detailing, here's the 6910. Now, as a lot of you know, this engine's been finished for a while, or at least to the point where I can get it into service, but I'm doing some more detail work on it. As you can see, I've added the pieces of styrene right here on both sides of the new intercooler, and those will hold the new larger air intake grills. I'll be using Canon detail parts for those, and eventually this unit will get more detail work done on it, but this is, you know, I'm just having to do little bits at a time depending on money. So eventually this unit will be completely detailed out the works, and it'll be looking pretty good. And speaking of crescent cabs, here is the C40-8.5W number 8500. As you can see, compared to last month, I got the entire coat of NS black and the white cigar stripe, or eyebrow if you will, across the top. I've also gone ahead and added the handrails to back to the front. I've also added the snowplow, and you probably can't see it in the video here, but there are also 2 ditch lights. Now, the way I made the ditch lights was the exact same way I did the headlight on my British Columbia Railway Dash 9. I've got it sitting right here and I'll show you. The Dash 9 uses a EMD ditch light from Details West that I rounded out using a Dremel. And since I needed to do Conrail style below the deck mounted lights, that's what I did here. These 2 ditch lights on here got the same treatment. So overall, the thing's really starting to come together pretty nicely. The real NS 8500 has just moved from the Roanoke shops to the Altoona shops in Altoona, Pennsylvania for emissions testing and eventual paint work. So this unit in real life is officially finished, but it's still a question as to what it's going to be painted in. Obviously it'll be NS black, but these days it could be anything. You know, it could be, like I said, it could be an Operation Lifesaver unit, it could be anything. So I am going to leave the 8500 like this until the real one gets completely painted and completely finished. And that'll be good because I do need to save some money on decals anyways. But waiting for it to come out is the right thing to do. So this is as far as I'm going with it. And hopefully by September perhaps, the real 8500 will be out of the shop and in service, so that way I can get to work on finishing this one, because I would really like to have it done before a certain event that is happening soon. But I'll explain more about that at the end of the video. Okay, shifting gears here a little bit, let's talk about some Amtrak stuff that I'm working on. To the left is an Athearn ready-to-run P42 DC, and to the right is an old Bachmann Metroliner that I got several years ago. These 2 units are getting repaints. The one on the left, which is the 146, is getting a partial repaint because what I'm doing is upgrading its Phase 5 paint scheme to match the current version of it. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and taped up the engine, and I will be applying a coat of silver along the bottom of the shell there. I've just got it sitting on the shell, just kind of sitting there so that it can be easily removed. I might also repaint the fuel tank skirting as well. We'll just have to see. Now the Metroliner car is getting a rebuild, so that way I can use it with my modern equipment. The plan for this one is to turn it into one of the Amtrak Metroliner cab control cars. When these things went out of service and they retired them, they rebuilt a bunch of them into cab cars. You can see them on the Northeast Corridor, you can see them on the Downeastern, and a few other trains as well. And for a while, you could actually see these out on the West Coast on Pacific Surfliner trains back in the 90s. But what I'm doing here is I'm going to be doing the 9647 which is the only Metroliner cab car that I have seen in person, and I saw it years and years ago on a trip up north. So what I'll be doing is doing a representation of that to run with my Amtrak equipment. So this will be the only Amfleet style car that I'll have in service at the moment. But hopefully I'll be able to get some more cars and really start to grow my Amtrak fleet over the next couple of years, because I would really like to get a representation of, obviously, the Crescent, since that's the local passenger train that stops here. And I would also like to do a Superliner train, but what I would really like to do, and this is a very gutsy move, is to do the Amtrak Auto Train, which runs from Lorton, Virginia to Sanford, Florida. That is a long train for a passenger train, and half of it's freight. Hopefully that can happen in the next few years, but as you can probably see, the prices for Walther's cars these days are just through the roof. Ridiculous. So that may not happen. Not just yet. But it will be pretty cool when I get this Metroliner car and this P42 back in service. Hopefully things will go well, and I'll have a couple of nice Amtrak pieces to run on the layout. While we're on the subject of passenger trains, here's the Southern Hospitality that I've been working on. You might recall this from another blog video a couple of months ago. I haven't really had much to do on it, but I just got the black paint applied to the roof the other day. And so the next thing I have to do is apply the gold striping to both the bottom and the top sections here. And I have to add the name of the car, numbers and data and whatever. And there's also some silver lining that goes around the windows up here on the dome. So I'm just using prototype photos to get that finished up. Now, as soon as I get all of that stuff finished, I'll hit it with a clear coat and seal everything in. And then I'll start working on getting the couplers mounted to the body, so that way this will be compatible with my other pieces of equipment. And then once this is done, I'll probably move on to get the Pacific Sands finished up. I've had that sitting on the workbench for quite a while now, and I really need to get it done. So you'll just have to wait till next month and find out what happens. But yeah, there's the Southern Hospitality. One last item on the workbench this month is a rather unusual one. This is probably going to be the biggest rebuild process that I have ever taken on. This is a GP59E. Now, for those of you that don't know, the GP59s are exclusive to Norfolk Southern. They're the only railroad that owns any. And they are currently sending these through the Juniata shops for rebuild into GP59Es. Similar to what they're doing to the SD40Es, the SD60Es, and even the C40-8.5Ws. But the GP59Es are rather unique in terms of their rebuilds. For one thing, they have the intercooler section, like on an SD60E. They have hood doors, like that of an SD60E. And they also have Admiral cabs. They have a shortened version of the standard Admiral cab. I can't quite remember the length, but if you look at photos, the nose on the GP59Es with the Admiral cabs are slightly shortened compared to one of that on an SD40-2. So what I'm doing here, this is an Athearn Blue Box GP60 that I've redone to the GP59 specs, which included shortening the dynamic brake housing and basically moving everything back on the engine. Basically the way you can tell a GP60 apart from a GP59 is the GP60 has 10 hood doors, the GP59 only has 8. And because of the smaller size, they basically pushed everything back on the engine. So what I'm doing with this, as you can see, there's a lot of styrene used on this engine. These pieces here will be where the new hood door goes. The new hood doors are installed. There'll also be some vents installed back here, and then on the other side there will be changes to the hood doors. The blower is going to be moved back slightly, which is why I've removed this completely and filled it over. And as for the Admiral cab, that is on the way. I had a friend who was building a GP59E. He gave me the cab off of that unit and is sending it to me. So that will be installed on this engine here. So, as you can see, as with the 6910, I've added the larger things here for the new air intake vents. But this is very much a shot in the dark because I've never taken on something like this before in terms of a custom build. It could be magic or it could be a disaster, because we all know what happened with my last Admiral cab, and I am desperately trying to avoid another freak accident. And I'm very excited to try to take on a build like this because, again, it's very unusual, and I've always been a fan of unusual locomotives, and a lot of the Norfolk Southern rebuilds they definitely fall into that category. With this, I'll have 3 rebuilds in my fleet. I'll have the SD60E, the GP59E, and the C40-8.5. So that just about wraps everything up for this month. Not really a whole lot to report, and like I said, it's too hot to go out to the train room right now, so hopefully things will start cooling off in a few weeks. And as usual, you will be seeing updates on everything you've seen in this video, both on YouTube and on my Facebook page. I will post a link down in the description for those of you that have not followed the Ravenhawk 6910 Facebook page. Go ahead and give it a like. You'll see a lot more items on a day-to-day basis on there, and I'll also, of course, be posting video links to there. But really, that is about it. Starling, you can't stop. You're forgetting something very important. What? You forgot about the trap! Oh, crap.
Attention, attention subscribers! This is a Ravenhawk 6910 trip advisory! Obey or you will be exterminated!
What comes to mind when I say the words Memphis, Tennessee? Some people may say Elvis Presley, but what I see is a place where several railroads interchange, both historically and today. And though mergers have brought only a handful of Class I railroads to North America, Memphis still has plenty of action. UP, BNSF, NS, CN, Amtrak, and CSX all converge here on the border of Tennessee and Arkansas, and a lot of major traffic from the Midwest to the South comes through here. Also, for those of you who have watched my videos from Atlanta and Dalton, the Powder River coal trains which run to Macon, Georgia, change over to the NS from the BNSF here. Well, while I will be going to Memphis for train watching, I'm going for a much bigger reason. The first weekend in October will mark the 100th anniversary of Memphis's Central Station. This event is being sponsored by the Memphis Railroad and Trolley Museum and will feature the museum itself, which is on the lower level of the Amtrak station in town, and exhibits upstairs on the station platform areas. The Amtrak exhibit train will be there, which also means that the Amtrak Veterans Unit and the Amtrak F40 cabbage car number 406 will also be making an appearance. The NS exhibit car has also been confirmed as a guest at the station. All of the hours for these have yet to be confirmed, though. Also of great note, Canadian National is said to be bringing a locomotive down for the event, which, as it says here on the website, will likely be one of the executive E9s. They've also said that they will likely be the IC units, which would be either 100 or 101. But this is going to be the interesting bit, because, as a lot of you know, 100 and 101 have been retired, and they're currently in storage in Homewood, Illinois. So it's unclear right now as to what CN will bring. Me personally, even if the E units don't show up,
I think if they brought an IC SD70 to the event, that would be great as well. Still, even if they brought just a regular CN unit, it would still be worth going. Now, I'm also told by a source, which will remain nameless, that BNSF, CSX, UP, and NS will also bring locomotives to display as well, and Iowa Pacific may bring one of their IC painted passenger cars, but nothing has been officially confirmed as of this posting. Now, as for me, I'll be traveling to Memphis that weekend for the event and will be doing video coverage of the whole thing. I can't say for sure how many videos will be posted, as I like to try to keep my videos under a half hour, and there's going to be a lot of footage to edit. But I can say there's going to be a lot, both to post on the channel, Facebook, and on Flickr as well. So just keep your eye out for that, and there'll also be a few other surprises in the videos as well, both at the event and possibly rail fanning as well. You'll never know what you're going to catch in Memphis. If you want further information on the event, visit the Memphis Railroad and Trolley Museum's website, or give them a phone call at 901-590-3099.
Also, in terms of the Memphis trip, I will also be doing some runs on a club layout up there. So what I wanted to do was take a few of my NS units to run up there. So I'm trying to decide which ones will go with me. These three, the 9294, the 3411, and the 6910, are likely going to be the ones I take. I might take two more, depending on the space I have in my suitcase, but we'll just see. But you will definitely be seeing at least these three units on the layout in Memphis. So that'll be pretty exciting, and I'll have a video of that along with everything else that's going on up there that weekend. But be on the lookout for that, and like I said, that will be the first weekend in October when that happens. And if you're able to come to Memphis for that event, send me a private message on Facebook or on YouTube or wherever, and let me know you're coming, and we'll try to meet up at the station. So it should be pretty fun. But in the meantime, that wraps up this month's blog video. Really not a whole lot happening. One of those odd situations where there is a lot and there's not a lot, if that makes sense. Yeah. So hopefully next month I will have the Dash 8.5 close to done, because I would like to take it to Memphis with me as well. But we will just see how it plays out. And hopefully you guys can't wait to see all that, and also can't wait for the next blog video. So until then, this is Ravenhawk 6910 signing off.